Hey, what's up, investor? If you're seeking for that financial freedom, the first thing that you must do is to educate yourself. Now, I'm not talking about going to school or following a certain course in finance, but what I mean is getting financially educated. Now, it sounds maybe, very silly, but if you really want to become wealthy and financially free, well, the most likely thing that you have to do is you gotta get the knowledge that they don't teach in schools. And if you've been following me for a while now, most likely you know that I'm a professor here in a university in the Netherlands. Now, it's not that I teach these courses in class because, it's not mainly focused on that. But you should actually be well prepared for this if you want to become financially free. Teaching about money in schools is like a taboo. There are so many interesting things that people write about money, but you don't teach about it. This is why in today's video, I'll be discussing with you the 4 must-read books if you want to be financially educated for a wealthy future. My name is Lukas, and as an investor from excelwealth.com, I'm always interested in sharing my ideas on personal finance, investing, and real estate. Now, if you stay until the end, I'll even share something cool with you that talks about books. So be sure to stay until the end. But for now, let's go into the video. Now, for the first must-read book that I would absolutely recommend is the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, this is a good story on how Robert Kiyosaki himself started his financial journey. And in this story, there are actually 2 dads. Did Robert Kiyosaki have 2 dads? Were they homosexual or something? Yeah, that's actually what so many people think. But no, his biological dad was the poor dad in his story. This dad was highly intelligent and very well educated, at least, in university style. And the poor dad believed that in studying hard and getting good grades, then finding a well-paying job is actually the way to go. And yet, despite these positive attributes, the poor dad didn't do so well financially. Now, on the other hand, the rich dad was the father of Robert Kiyosaki's best friend. He had a similar work ethic to Robert's real dad, of course, but with a twist. Now, the rich dad believed that financial education, learning how money works and understanding how to make money work for you is far more important. Although he was an 8th grade dropout, the rich dad eventually became a millionaire by putting the money and the power of money to work for him. Now, I've read this book many years ago, and I still love reading this book. And I even have a copy of the audiobook of it. Whenever I'm traveling by myself in the car, I absolutely love listening to his story. It's an inspiring, but mainly teaching you how you should set money aside to work for you, instead of you working for your money. Now, the biggest takeaway from me from this book is that rich people are not born rich. So are you saying that you don't have to be born rich to become the wealthiest man on earth? Well, absolutely. Take a look at Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates. They're all self-made billionaires. Not even self-made millionaires, but self-made billionaires. And another takeaway from this book is that your home is not your asset as long as it takes money out of your pocket. Now, the moment your home brings in money each month again, then it becomes an asset. And with that, the next takeaway is the difference between a liability and an asset. Now, I'll tell you this, I can talk about this book for hours and hours long, but I think it's a better idea for you to just get your own copy of this book. Now, the second book that is a must-read if you want to be financially educated is actually just a sequel of Robert Kiyosaki's book, which is the Cashflow Quadrant. Now, this book actually describes the quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki designed. And there are 4 ways to make money. Only 4 ways? Only 4 ways to make money? What do you mean? There are so many ways to make money, right? Well, yes, but making money can be categorized in 4 quadrants. Therefore, the title Cashflow Quadrant. Now, let's just quickly go into these 4 quadrants. According to Robert Kiyosaki, you will most likely be making money as an employee, and therefore the letter E, as you can see over here in this quadrant. And this is the first quadrant. Now, you might be beginning your life in making money in this quadrant as a dishwasher or as a paperboy or somebody who's just, taking simple tasks, and in exchange for your time and work, you get some money. Now the second quadrant, as you can see over here, is the S for self-employed. This is the category for those who have their own business but are the main driver of their business. Like in my coaching business, I'm the one who's necessary to be able to get the money in. The moment I'm not, active in my coaching business, there's no money coming in. So every business owner who's putting in his own time in exchange for money are self-employed. Now, people may be well paid for the work, but in the end, the moment they stop working, their income also stops. And the takeaway from this book is that Robert Kiyosaki also describes these two categories of people, the employee and the self-employed, are also the ones paying high taxes. Now, if you just take a real quick look at the government, they have their tax system set up. These people pay up to almost 50% of their income to taxes. Therefore, being in these two categories, as you can see over here, is the least favorable. So are you saying that doctors, lawyers, accountants who make over $100,000 per year as a salary still have to give away about half of the salaries to taxes just because they're self-employed? Absolutely. And this is why Robert Kiyosaki describes the following quadrant, which is the B for business owner. Now, the moment you have a business in which you are not the main driver of income anymore, you're making use of other people's time. Hiring somebody else to do the work, to be able to get in the money into the business, is the first step of becoming financially free. And the coolest part is that most governments around the world will give these businesses a tax benefit, as they don't have to pay 50% of taxes over the revenue, but only need to pay about 25% of taxes. Wait. Now that's a strange one. So are you saying that bigger businesses are being charged less tax? Okay, but wouldn't it make more sense to especially charge these companies some more tax instead of less, since they make so much more money per year anyway? So I don't get it anymore. Why is that? Well, that's actually a very logical thing, because you have to see it like this. These big companies already pay a lot of taxes. Now, they don't only pay the 25% of taxes once they make a sale, but they will also have to pay for their income taxes for all their employees. And since they have a role for society as they create jobs as a big business, the government gives them the benefit of being a business, and therefore they get taxed less in the end by the government. So it actually just makes sense to become a business owner then, since, then you'll get your tax benefits compared to being a self-employed person. Absolutely. Now, there is a reason why I have multiple businesses as well. All the companies I run have tax benefits, all thanks to Robert Kiyosaki's book that inspired me to create businesses. Now, the fourth quadrant is the I for investor, as you can see over here. Now, the moment you set your money to work for you, instead of you exchanging your time for money, you should exchange your money for more money. Now, if you think about it, that sounds very logical, though, to have your money work for more money. But that's the moment when you do that. That's the moment you become an investor. And also described in Robert Kiyosaki's book, the investor gets charged the least taxes. Now, okay. Now, I've heard of this one before. This is why I wanted to become an investor. But the moment I make money with my stocks, I still have to pay taxes over that. So am I doing something wrong or what? Well, you have to see it like this. Each government has its own rules in how taxes work for their, for your own capital. Now, here in the Netherlands, the moment you have a capital up to 75,000 euros, it's completely free to have that money. So 75,000, good. The moment you own more than 75,000 euros, you'll have to pay somewhere like around 1% over the excessive amount that you have. So depending on how much money you own and how much investments you own, it's most likely that you will have to pay a little. But compared to the 1% that you need to pay over your investments, compare that to that 50% that you need to pay over the salary that you give to the government taxes. And that amount already starts the moment you have a job. So it's always about 40, maybe 50%. If you bring it like that, it actually just makes more sense to become an investor as soon as you can, because, they don't get charged that much. Now, this is why it's so important to understand how taxes work. But I'll just explain that in a different video in the next time. So the moment you understand the cash flow quadrant, you'll rethink your own position. And it should motivate you to make the choices to move from the employee, the E from employee, to the I of investor, as that is the way to become financially free. Now, the third book that is a must read if you want to become financially free is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, simply said, this book makes you think the impossible should become possible. The main takeaway from this book is that you should be able to live your life the way you want it to, living like a millionaire without actually being one. So, are you saying that you don't have to be incredibly rich to be able to live the life you want to? But how do you pay your monthly bills then? Now, the best way to describe what Tim Ferriss actually writes is that you need to be effective, not only efficient. You have to see it like this. Tim Ferriss uses the Pareto principle, or also known as the 80-20 rule. With 20% of your time, you do 80% of the work that needs to be done, meaning you have to be more effective with your time. So the 4-hour work week just means that you are super effective in those 4 hours and you make the money for the rest of the week. Well, that's not completely true, but the idea is here, it's okay. But you gotta see it that most people measure productivity by the time they spend working. And I'll tell you that is not a good indicator because we waste so much time at work. Now, Tim suggests you spend your time effectively on the 20% of the things that you get 80% of the results, and not vice versa. Now, a famous quote of Tim is this one that you see over here. Doing something unimportant well does not make it important. So instead of focusing on doing as much as you can and as best as you can, just focus on the few things that will lead to bigger progress. Now, the biggest takeaway for me from this book that caused me to rethink my schedule each and every week again are the things that I do still useful for my business or for my journey. And if not, maybe it's a better idea to just leave it be. And that brings us to the last book that is a must read if you want to become financially free. Now, this fourth book is almost 100 years old, and the moment I tell the title, you'll say like, oh, I've heard of this one before, because it is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, published in 1937. Despite the time, this book is still incredible, because it really sets the principles of how wealthy people think, not only 100 years ago, but even today. Now, the takeaways from this book for me is that there is always a 3-step to all achievements. Now, the first step is that you always should have the desire to want something. Now, the desire wanting to create something is so important. If this desire is not big enough, it will just always stay a dream. So, okay, now I have the desire to become a millionaire. Is that good enough for me to become one? Well, as for a desire, that's a start. But you have to have the real desire to wanting to become one. And because then you will have the next step, which is planning it. The moment you have that, the moment you really see it like this, the time will never be right. And the moment you see it like this, I'll tell you that the time will never be right. There will always be good reasons why you might think, it's not a good idea to get started now. But if you really don't start now, you'll never start. Now, one of the statements that stayed with me is that one of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. No matter what you come across in your life, don't just give up. You might be very, very close to your goal. Take a look at this image. This is what happens to so many people. They plan something, but they don't stick through. They don't stick through until the very end. They give up. Like people watching this video, they just give up halfway. And even if you're here, then, don't forget to like this video. But, that brings us to the very last step that Napoleon Hill tells everyone who reads his book, and that is you have to have focus. It's focus that helped me in my life to deal with the failures I met in my life. It helped me to stand up again and continue. Now, let me just be honest, I didn't do it alone, or I didn't do it, completely by myself. I surrounded myself with people who supported me, people who went through this journey before me, so that each time, the moment I would doubt myself, I would share my doubt with them. And people around me would encourage me, telling, Lukas, don't worry, man, these diamonds are very nearby. Don't give up now. Remember what your goal was. Remember to focus again. Now, let me tell you this. These 4 books inspired me to work on my life, to realize my dreams. And before I knew it, I had achieved all my dreams I set for myself. And I started when I was 17 years old. And in less than 10 years' time, I was able to say, all my dreams have become true. And since you stayed until the end, I am proudly to present to you. Now let me just grab it for just a bit. I proudly present to you my own book. The book is called How to Invest 2 Minutes and Make Money. Now, I've written my own book to share my own journey, what I did to grow my own wealth. And if you read it, you'll notice that some sections in this book will have, from all these 4 books that I mentioned today, will have, some ideas of it. Now, I would like to invite you to get your own copy. Down below in the description, you can find the link to get your own copy of my ebook. And if you even really wanted to, I can even send you a physical version of this book. I thank you very much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next. Happy investing. Bye-bye.